From the CW's version of The Flash blazing past the DCU one in ratings, to fan outrage for counting out Gustin's Flash in the latest movie, this is why Grant Gustin is perfect as the Flash. Starting with how DC Studios thought they struck gold with the Flash movie, calling it the best thing to happen to DC fans in years. But the CW's The Flash TV series is here to give them a run for their money, and that's because Grant's Scarlet Speedster has had fans swooning for nearly a decade. But hey, let's cut Miller's Flash some slack. They've only just gotten their standalone film, and only made a brief appearance in Justice League. But the thing is, we've been following Gustin's journey since 2014, watching his version of the epic Flashpoint event, and experiencing the highs and lows alongside him. It's little wonder there are die-hard fans who dig his act over Miller's. Heck, some even called for him to be a part of the film franchise. But that's clearly not what happened. Instead, DC decided to give Ezra Miller's The Flash their solo movie in the DCU. Now, you might remember his quirky character from films like Batman v Superman and Justice League, but the standalone movie took some serious inspiration from the Flashpoint storyline from the comics. I mean, it had lots of time travel as Barry went back in time to save his mom, but it failed to make the kind of splash that DC was expecting. They opened with a mere $57 million on box office weekend, which doesn't even hold a candle against the $200 million spent on the movie. Gotta say, these were the consequences of messing with time travel. I mean, Barry's actions completely mess up the present, and to make things crazier, it introduced the concept of the multiverse into the DCU. This was also when we got introduced to Michael Keaton's Batman again, along with Clooney's version towards the end as a twist. And we can't forget Sasha Calle's Supergirl, who, some argue, was the best part of the movie, with the old Batman and Ben Affleck from the Snyder era joining the party too. The fans weren't too interested in Ezra Miller's Flash. On the other side, Grant Gustin has been zooming through people's hearts as Barry Allen for years. I mean, the guy has been running for what feels like forever, starting with a cameo in Arrow and then spinning off into a show of his own. And unlike Ezra, he's had his fair share of adventures, teaming up with other heroes like Supergirl and Arrow in all those epic crossover events. So who's the better Flash? Well, Gustin has had the advantage of time in the literal sense because my man's had more episodes than you can count to really get in the Barry Allen vibe. We've seen him grow from an awkward but lovable guy to a full-fledged superhero. So naturally, fans are more interested in him than the new guy. The TV series has also given fans the chance to explore the superhero's relationships, from his love interest Iris West to his bromance with Cisco and Caitlin. On the other hand, Ezra Miller brings their brand of lightning to the role. Sure, they haven't had as much screen time, but they've got that quirky charm part down beautifully. And the dude literally turned back time. Also the suit man, they look good in that suit. So who takes the crown as the best Flash? See, Grant Gustin is in the lead, thanks to his marathon of episodes and character development, but Ezra Miller isn't too far behind. Both actors bring their flavor to the fastest man alive, and it all comes down to personal preference. But why not have both? After all, we're in the multiverse now, where anything is possible. But when it comes to bringing this speedy superhero to life on the big screen, only one of them has gone the distance. Sure, Ezra Miller dashed onto the scene in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, solidifying Barry Allen's place in the DC live-action universe. But let's face it, none of the Flash adaptations in these movies could outrun Grant Gustin's portrayal of Barry Allen in the CW's Arrowverse, particularly in the 2014 series The Flash. In fact, fans believe Grant Gustin deserves a standing ovation for his commitment to the role. After all, he brought the comic character to life in a way that makes him super relatable. From his humble beginnings as a nerdy forensic scientist to becoming Central City's favorite hero, with a latte named after him at the local CC Jitters coffee shop. His role has been nothing but successful across all 9 seasons. It's not just his acting that made all those seasons successful. It was the incredible character arcs for Barry Allen, and his journey with other iconic heroes and villains from the comics. But at the core is the mystery surrounding his mother's death. We've seen Gustin's Flash evolve from a shy guy struggling to confess his feelings to Iris, to becoming a team leader at Star Labs, catching metahuman criminals left, right, and center, and even saving the world during multiverse crises. It's been a roller coaster of victories, defeats, and plenty of pep talks, making Barry one of the best developed characters in the Arrowverse. And when it comes to facing tough villains, he's also had his fair share of challenges. My man's battled some of the toughest metahumans in the DC universe, showing off not only his speed, but also his intelligence. Not only that, but his teamwork with the crew at Star Labs and his superhero friends, Supergirl and Green Arrow, have proven that he's not just a speedster, but an amazing team player. Let's not forget the chemistry he brings to the screen with his cast members. I mean, the relationships between his Flash and the supporting characters are electric, especially his dynamic with Green Arrow. They've experienced the highs and lows of superhero life together, creating a bond that shines through in the crossover episodes. All this perfectly captures the essence of Barry Allen from the comic books. It's no wonder die-hard DC fans stand by him. You see, he fits the role like a glove. I mean, have you seen his running stance? It's pure Flash magic. Comparing that to Ezra's running style, there's no competition. So when the Flash movie director called Ezra the only suitable Barry Allen, Grant Gustin's fans weren't too happy. Sure, I understand that the Flash was about to make his grand return to the silver screen with Ezra Miller gearing up in the red suit again, but the director's comments were a little too much to digest. Andy Muschietti said that no one could replace Miller as the iconic superhero if a sequel were to happen. That was where the outrage started from the Gustin camp. Now, to be fair, it's unlikely that he meant any harm to Gustin, but it's understandable why his comments rubbed people the wrong way. Like, come on, Gustin has been running circles around the Arrowverse for quite some time, 9 seasons to be exact. He's the Flash, and the Flash is him. Not to mention, his portrayal has left a lasting impact on the character's legacy. What makes this even more frustrating is that Gustin and Miller's versions of the Flash shared some screen time, particularly in the Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinite Earth crossover event. So it's like they're part of the same family, and yet there's this divide now created by Andy's comments. To make matters worse, Muschietti previously said that they couldn't include a cameo by Gustin in the Flash movie, which seems like a missed opportunity. Gustin's fans have their reasons for wanting him in the DCU. I mean, they've seen his growth and development as the character over the years and can't imagine anyone else stepping into his shoes because it just doesn't feel right. Some fans even argue that Miller should face consequences for their actions, and Gustin should take their place in the DCU. They believe that actors who portray such important characters should be held accountable for their behavior. It's all about protecting the hard work and reputation of others. In the end, Gustin's legacy as the Flash will live on, regardless of Muschietti's comments. Besides, the entire series is available to revisit on Netflix, even though Gustin felt like it was time for it to end. In fact, he was happy when the series decided to wrap up the series instead of going on without him. This way, his performance will always hold a special place in everyone's hearts. As for the future of the Flash in the DCU, well, that's a race we'll have to keep an eye on. So, from fan outrage for counting out Grant Gustin's Flash in the latest movie, to the CW's version of The Flash blazing past the DCU 1 in ratings, that was why Grant Gustin is perfect as the Flash.